Girls, what are hints you give that guys never understand? Hey, I always get the signs. Sometimes 10 years too late, sure, but I get them. I had to ask, more like spell out to my current boyfriend directly if he wanted to get together with me, because apparently kissing his neck while sitting huddled together in a cafe watching TV shows every week for a month wasn't enough of a hint. Also, my favorite, he had no idea I was horny even though I literally put my hand in his pants. I don't know if it gets any more clueless than that, but I love him nonetheless. Gosh, I feel like I have so many that I've missed. I'll retell one of the most obvious. This girl that I was super into. I met her at the gym, we worked out at the same times, talked for a few weeks and I found out she was an elementary teacher. I had the great idea of bringing lunch and flowers to her school. I did. We chatted, she loved them. I told her I'd see her later at the gym. That night at the gym, she thanked me again and said, verbatim, "Thank you so much Wampus. I loved everything. I really wish that I could have texted you thanks, but I don't have your number." I really just laughed and said no problem. I'm glad you liked them. Ensue slight pause from her, me being oblivious, went to the weight room to work out while she was in cardio. A few sets later, and I have a freaking epiphany. Thinking oh my god, she was asking me for my number. I felt so dumb. After we finished I walked her to her car and confessed my realization. She just laughed and agreed she totally wanted it. But since I missed the hint, she made me wait a few days and I got her number later. Moral of the story, guys are dense. At least I am. After an outdoor class activity while going back to our classroom, a classmate hugged me from the back. "Why did you hug me?" I asked. She said, "Oh nothing. I just like hugging my dear classmates. That's all." She never hugged anyone else. It took me 5 years. A girl used to stare at me at the gym back in 2018. Once while running on adjacent treadmill, I asked her to replay the current song, Magenta Rhythm, because her phone was connected to the gym speakers. Believe it or not, she literally played that song every time I came to the gym for the next 2 weeks I guess. That was allegedly a hint. I later got to know she liked me a lot when I literally moved to a different fking country. Some of the hints my boyfriend has missed. Can we have Shreks today? Or you should ask me for B jobs. I really like giving them. A girl hid my phone down her bra and suggested if I wanted it back I had to get it myself. I didn't. A girl had to tell me that she wanted to kiss me, but wasn't brave enough so that I would kiss her. She probably spent an entire hour looking me dead in the eyes while sitting close and alone in a cool spot at sunset and I didn't think anything of it. Men tend to have lower self-esteem than women. That's what I realized over time. They aren't mind readers and don't want to misconstrue your actions and be labeled as predators. That's why they're careful and tend to ignore hints. Just ask the guy out. A girl said after a date that it was cold. Apparently that was code for "I want you to take me home and warm me up." I just thought she wanted me to hold hands. Gosh, the number of times I've asked a guy I like what he thinks of my new outfit or would he like to see it, especially if it's going to show off my legs or butt or booze and get a blank look or non-committal answer back. I am so blind to those signs that even if she was signaling with those landing light sticks they have at airports I wouldn't notice. Subtle hints are like a ghost. Even when I am positive I saw it, I convince myself it's a figment of my imagination cause that shoot can't be real. I picture David Attenborough reading these comments and comparing them to the unsuccessful mating strategies he's seen in many a tropical bird. No one ever really wants to offer coffee when they ask, "Do you want some coffee at my place after a date?" At night. Luckily my dates understood that, but I know some friends of mine who either said no because it was too late for caffeine or actually wanted coffee. A girl literally said to me, "Wanna inaugurate out my new bed?" And I just laughed it off like, "Yeah sure, good one. Man am I stupid." I had a girl rollerblade over to my house to ask if I wanted to rollerblade with them, but I was already hanging with another friend and I didn't just want to bail on them. I informed the girl that my sister was home, who she was also friends with, as she was just looking for company. She never talked or hung out with me again after that and I never knew why. Saw her out 15 years later one night and we just casually chatted over some drinks and I asked her why she never talked or wanted to hang out after that day. Turns out, she came over to ask me out and she was so mad at me for choosing the other friend over her. She didn't want to hang out anymore. That was it. Trust me, had I known what she wanted, I would have bailed on the other friend. A girl asked me to feel her new bra while we were alone in my car. I thought she was joking and started to drive off, but she told me she was serious so I pulled over again. Reached over and got a good feel of her TI. Her nipples were hard as a rock, and I still thought she wasn't into me so I drove off. She later told me she wanted to frick, but she assumed I wasn't into her and didn't want to push it. Here's the problem. No bloke wants to be called out as a predator. The risk of misinterpreting a sign is high. And let's be frank, women are seldom the ones who are forward and make the approach to a bloke. To avoid confusion, don't bother with coy and subtle. Use your words. I want to have Shreks with you would probably work, but you could try something like, hey mate, can you send me a dong pic? I'm 90% sure I want to frick you, but I just want to make sure you've got the goods. Instead of hence, I'd rather be held at gunpoint and have her tell me what's good. Personally, I don't hint. I dislike it when men just go in for the kiss when I haven't asked for it. My hinting sounds looks like, you can kiss me if you want to. And that's about it. I missed one that I didn't find obvious at all. This is, ironically, due to the fact that nearly all of my friends are female, which leads to me hanging out with girls quite a lot without there being anything about it. This probably leads to people thinking I'm gay or something, but I mean they're not completely wrong, but that's a different story. At some point, this one girl would hang out with me quite a lot, but she'd also spend time with a couple of other friends of mine girls, or we'd just be in a group, so I thought nothing of it. At some point, I started to find the whole thing rather suspicious, but I decided to not change my behavior and just play the long game. Is that correct English? Because I kinda hope that I was wrong. A few months later, she was fed up with it and started asking questions that pointed in that direction, which allowed me to reject her idea. If guys are so bad at reading hints, can't we just switch roles? As in the guy starts kinda hinting around and then girls pick that up and ask him out or something? Are girls even better at reading those, or are they just as terrible at it, but we don't notice because they don't have to read them? Or how about we just abandon these roles and everyone can pick themselves what they do? This guy does this, girl does this really doesn't fit the gender equality theme we have going on here. I am a guy. When I was a teenager and had only had Shreks with one girl before, I had a girl say these exact words to me, in person. I want to see how big your dong is. I cringe to this day, 12 years later, because I said I'm okay, in an obviously confused way. I had zero idea that she was trying to have Shreks with me. It was just so unexpected to the awkward teenage me. Nothing happened that time, because I nervously blew it off, but it still happened later on. Thankfully, haha, I just feel like such an idiot when I think back on it. I didn't realize until years later that it was her way of initiating the conversation and I didn't pursue it. Luckily she was a bit more upfront the second time, if you can imagine being any more upfront than the initial time, instead of thinking I wasn't interested. I'm a guy, but when I was in 7th grade, age 12, I rode the school bus home along with many other students. I was friends with a girl on that bus, and every day she would hug me before I left. My stop was first. If I didn't hug her, she would be mad at me the next day, haha. I didn't realize that she was into me until about 10 years later. The worst part is I had a crush on her at that time too. In college I asked a girl who was messaging me on Facebook for her number. She never responded. Years after graduation and her getting married, my best friend tells me she had a huge thing for me and I should have pursued it. The fuck was I supposed to do? When I suddenly start touching my hair a bunch with you, it's because I want you to touch my hair too. But not like, braid it. I want you to wrap it around your fingers and pull me in for a kiss. I was helping a female friend of mine get dressed for work and she said you're doing the opposite of what you're supposed to be doing, and it took me a solid 5 minutes to understand that she was making a joke about how I was supposed to undress her. Anyway, shortly after that we became friends with benefits LMAO. The thing is, if we guys try to understand the hints, we probably end up getting it wrong and will end up with broken friendship and a couple of harassment cases. Girls are complicated as frick. I'm just going to sit back and listen for this one. I'm the king of missing signs. SMH. Every time I see this chick at work, she texts me after our in-person conversation giving me a compliment. Is this a hint? I literally missed a raging neon billboard set of signs. I had shot my shot a few years earlier and been emphatically shut down. I'm pretty sure I saw most of them, but I just refused to allow myself to think she was interested, because the last time that had happened, I had been told in no uncertain terms she wasn't. It wasn't until years later that her grandmother told me she had cried all the way back from my wedding reception. It's one of the great regrets of my life. I wish I had had a chance to see how that might have played out. For the love of God, I implore all young men and women to just communicate with words.